Hello and welcome to the Pasto Agricultural Museum. Today is the first day of Ag Progress Days 2025. My name is Rita Grafe. I'm the director at the Pasto Agricultural Museum, and I look forward to welcoming you to the museum where we feature the science and history of agriculture. We've got new exhibits, hands-on family activities, and all kinds of things to watch how work was done on the farm and in the home from the turn of the last century to the present day. There is so much to do here at the museum and throughout the grounds on Ag Progress Days. Find us at the top of Main Street, the big red building across from the Red Barn. Let's go inside. And welcome to the inside of the Pasto Agricultural Museum, where you'll find new exhibits and hands-on family activities, like our potato exhibit and the Land and Legacy interactive story map. This is a history of the place and its people. We feature the properties that comprise our research, what is now our research farm, and our visitors can navigate the stories and narratives that highlight those that worked the land before it was part of the research farm. This is an ongoing project that we will continue to do research on land ownership and the story of the people that worked and lived on these farms, to connect us to the present day, where Penn State uses the Russell Larson Agricultural Research Center for cutting-edge research and science to help Pennsylvania's farmers and protect our food and environment. This exhibit features miniatures from our collection. One of my favorite ways to look at this exhibit is getting down and peering through the window. This exhibit features miniatures that were created in the 1930s, funded by the federal program, the Work Progress Act, part of the New Deal, and it provided employment for artisans and craftsmen, and these miniatures were used as models in teaching and education.
Hi, I'm Larry Harpster. I'm a volunteer here at Penn State's Pasto Ag Museum, and we're in the part of the here which is small grains, which I often think is maybe one of the things that allowed civilization to take place. By far our oldest artifact in the museum is this clay sickle from Mesopotamia. It's been estimated that it's about 6,000 years old, and it was most likely used to harvest wheat or some variation thereof. We go over here. The mural on the back there and some of the implements up on top started out with hand harvesting of grains. And you can see on that mural there, the guys had to bundle the grain together after the guys with the grain cradles would mow it and put it into piles. This is a model of Cyrus McCormick's 1831 reaper. And this is actually the beginning of mechanized agriculture, pretty much. Mechanized harvesting anyways. This was pulled by one horse. The guy riding the horse would guide it through the field. You can see that little model of the rake there. Another man had to walk by, and as the grain was cut onto the table, he would pull it off. After that, a crew would come along and tie it up into bundles. The next thing that took place was the drop reaper. This is actually about a 1915 version, although this is Civil War technology. This was pulled by two horses. There is a seat that goes on there, which the operator would sit right next to that wheel. We often joke that he better not fall asleep or he might get woken up pretty quick. This would cut the grain. It uses a sickle bar type arrangement with guards. And if you go down the midway here and look at a $250,000 combine, it's going to have a very similar cutting mechanism. This, you could vary it. If you watch the paddles, that one rakes the grain off as it's going by. That one goes up. That one goes up. Yeah. Then the next one would come along and rake the grain off. After it's in piles, again, a crew would come along and actually tie it up with the straw into bundles. Sometimes the grain would be set to dry out a little bit and then take it into the barn and thrash it. We come over to the next item. This is about 1880s technology. This is a grain binder. This again was pulled by at least 2 horses. They actually made bigger ones. They made them up in the Midwest to 10 and 12 foot cuts. These lasted up into the 1940s and even into the 1950s. And what this did, again, originally this was pulled by 2 horses. It would cut the grain, and we can't get back to see it too well here anymore, but it would actually tie it with twine. Each bundle then would be put on that sheath carrier, and when you got 4 or 5 or 6 of them, the operator then would drop that sheath carrier on the back and all the bundles would slide off. After that, another crew would come along and put them into stacks, and then later they would come along and haul them into the barn to thrash with, or to thrash the grain out of it. Originally, of course, it was done by hand with flails. This machine over here is a wooden thrashing machine. Before we had gasoline and diesel engines, it was powered by a horse. That horsepower there would run this machine. You'd lead the horse up there, release the brake, and he would start to walk. That would give the belt power to run this machine. You fed the sheaves in this end. The grain would come out one of these spouts here, and the straw then would come out here, which of course was a big improvement over flailing it with those things that are hanging up on the wall there.
Hi, I'm Clara Milner, and I ran 3 archaeological excavations at 3 different farmsteads in Huntington and Central counties. This collection has come to the Pasto Museum because they are artifacts that represent farm families in the 19th into the early 20th century. So we have been putting together exhibits to explain what archaeology is all about and why we would excavate farmhouses from this time period. It was such a dynamic time period change in rural America as well as urban America, and these artifacts can sort of give us some detail that you don't necessarily get from just historic documents. So this exhibit just represents how we go about excavating a site and then ultimately analyzing the material that become part of exhibits as well as historic reports that we will put up. My favorite part is digging. No, it's really a joy to both start excavating a site. You never know what you're going to find, so there's always surprises. That's really exciting, and in my role at Penn State, it was teaching students about archaeology and about history and how important it was for us to understand our past here in Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much for visiting the Pasto Agricultural Museum. I look forward to seeing you on your next visit. You can find out about programs and activities that we have planned on our website at agsci.psu.edu/Pasto. That's Pasto. Look us up and come on by.